Part 1. Segment 1. The parcel wrapped in skin. Ethan Calder always thought that the worst day of his life had been the day his father left. He was wrong. The worst day arrived on a Tuesday, weeks after the breakup, after the layoffs, after Dublin's constant grey drizzle had worn him down to someone he barely recognised. It arrived at 10:42 a.m. in the lobby of his apartment building in Smithfield. The receptionist, a thin man with nervous eyes, held a parcel out to him using only the very edges of his fingers, as though it might burn him. "This came for you," he murmured. "From Derry? No return address." Ethan frowned. "I'm not expecting anything." The parcel was lighter than it should have been for its size, about the dimensions of a showbox. The wrapping, something felt off about it. The texture reminded him of old leather, cracked, slightly oily, warm despite the cold lobby air. He pressed a thumb into the surface. The material gave way. Soft. Elastic. Skin. He recoiled, dropping the package onto the floor. It slapped wetly, the way raw meat does on a butcher block. The receptionist took a step back. "You okay, man?" "Yeah," Ethan lied. Just haven't slept." That part was true. After the public firing, after the fight with Aoife, after everything, he'd barely managed more than 2 hours a night. He picked up the parcel, hands trembling. Something shifted inside it. In his apartment. The Smithfield flat was always loud, tram lines screeching, pubs emptying at odd hours, wind howling through the courtyard like a restless banshee. He'd grown used to it. It was better than silence. He placed the parcel on the kitchen counter and stared at it. The skin was stitched together with dark coarse thread, jagged and uneven, as if made by someone who didn't understand, or care, how human stitching was supposed to look. On the top, pressed into the surface, were faint marks. Scratches. Carvings. Not English. Not Latin. Ogham. He knew that only because of Ronan. Uncle Ronan had been obsessed with the old Irish scripts, the ancient gods, the forgotten rituals. He would carve Ogham into stones, into sticks, into anything. He'd insisted the old language was closer to the bone of the world. Ethan took a deep breath. "Okay," he muttered to himself. "Let's just get this over with." He cut the thread with a kitchen knife. The parcel exhaled. There was no other word for it. A sound like air escaping a sealed mouth. Something like a sigh, long held and relieved. Ethan froze, knife poised midair. The room felt colder. Inside the parcel was a tarnished bronze key, long and thin, carved with deep Ogham strokes. A Polaroid photograph, edges curled, colors washed out. A folded sheet of parchment, stiff and brown with age. A hand-drawn map, markings in deep rusty brown. He lifted the Polaroid first and felt his mouth go dry. It showed Ronan Calder, standing in front of a lodge, stone walls, black wooden roof, mist curling around the eaves. Uncle Ronan wore his usual wool cap, staring at the camera with that half-amused smile. But behind him stood something tall. Too tall. At least 3 meters. A humanoid silhouette in a blue coat, long as a funeral shroud, head tilted down as if looking at Ronan. But there was no face. Just a smooth, dark surface where the features should have been. Ethan flipped the photo over. Something was written on the back. Togmo Rudd. Lean N.A. Realacha. N.A. Feach Sire. Take my things. Follow the rules. Do not look back. The handwriting was unmistakable. Ronan had been dead for 3 months. The map. The map was drawn on stiff parchment, edges flaking. The ink, if it was ink, was brown, cracked, and smelled faintly metallic. Donegal. Poisoned Glen. And near it, circled in violent strokes, the land Ronan had supposedly left Ethan, Glen of the Mad. 7 X marks. 7 shallow pits. 7 graves. Ethan placed the map down, trying not to tremble. This made no sense. He hadn't spoken to Ronan in years. The old man had practically vanished into his research on Celtic mythology before his sudden death. Cardiac arrest, the coroner had said, though Aoife had whispered something else. They found him kneeling, as if he wasn't allowed to lie flat. The key. The bronze key was heavy, colder than the kitchen counter. When he held it up to the light, the Ogham markings gleamed unevenly, as if they were wet. He traced the grooves with a finger. A sharp jolt ran up his arm, sudden and electric. He dropped the key with a curse. It clanged once, then spun on its own. A perfect, slow rotation. Ethan stepped back so fast he hit the refrigerator. No. Nope. I'm not. The key stopped spinning, pointing toward the parchment. The parchment he hadn't opened yet. The rules. Hands shaking, he unfolded the parchment. It crackled like old leaves. There, written in dark ink on cracked sheepskin, were 6 rules, each line first in Irish Gaelic, then translated to English in smaller script beneath. He read them once, then twice. His breath fogged in the air. Na fag and teacher dear mean oish agus a tree, do not leave the house between midnight and 3 a.m. Dean Neemhead Diegoin Na be pasty, ignore the crying of children. Kaith Dieg Agus 2 Ag Sul Sechoil always wear red when walking in the woods. Ma Faisian 2 Fear Ig Kuplagorm, Na Labhair Lays if you see a man in a blue coat, do not speak to him. Na Hoskale Boska Admaid Fower Glass never open a locked wooden box. Fanistai Ta Ice Louis Na Grain never leave after sunset. His chest tightened. These are Ronan's rules, he whispered. They had to be. No one else would write something so absolutely, quintessentially terrifying. He touched the parchment again. Cold. Too cold. His phone buzzed. A message from his former manager. Niall Doyle. We are proceeding with termination for cause. You'll be escorted out at 3 if you try coming back. Termination. The public humiliation last week hadn't been enough. Apparently the company had decided to make it official. Ethan swallowed bile. Perfect timing, Ronan, he muttered. As if on cue, a second notification appeared. This one from a number he didn't recognize. +44 78 529. Northern Ireland. One line. You must come. Then another. Tonight. His blood ran cold. He typed back immediately. Who is this? No answer. Another message instead. The box will choose someone else if you don't. Ethan backed into the counter. What box? I don't. Something thumped inside the parcel. He froze. Slowly, dreadfully, he reached for the package again. He peeled the remaining layer of skin-like leather aside. Beneath the parchment, beneath the key, lay something he hadn't noticed earlier. A corner of dark wood, engraved and locked by 7 rusted metal clasps. A box? A red-stained wooden box. The grain of the wood looked wet. Pulsing. Breathing. His hands began to shake. His throat went dry. He remembered the last rule. Na Hoskale Boska Admaid Fower Glass never open a locked wooden box. A sudden knock at his apartment door made him jump. 3 knocks. Even. Slow. The same rhythm as a heartbeat. Va dum. Va dum. Va dum. No one should be there. He hadn't buzzed anyone in. His building didn't allow random visitors. He approached the door. Through the peephole. Nothing. Just the empty hallway. He opened the door a fraction. No one. But on the floor lay a single piece of folded paper. He bent down, picked it up, and unfolded it. A bus ticket. Dublin Donegal. Departure, tonight, 23:55. His name printed on it. Paid in cash. Ethan stared at the ticket for a long time. At the Polaroid. At the map. At the key. At the rules. At the box. Then he whispered, "Ronan, what did you drag me into?" Outside, the Dublin sky cracked with thunder. Wind hammered the window like fingernails. And somewhere inside the apartment, something laughed. Softly. Wrongly. From inside the parcel. Ethan didn't sleep. He repacked everything, key, map, photograph, parchment, ignoring the way the box vibrated faintly, like a heartbeat. At 11:20 p.m., wearing the same clothes he'd been fired in, he locked his apartment door behind him and walked into the rain. He didn't notice the tall figure in a blue coat reflected in the puddle beside him, or the faint whisper that followed each step he took. Do not look back. Segment 2: The Road to Glen of the Mad. Rain fell in slanted grey sheets as Ethan stepped off the bus in Donegal, the scent of wet earth and sheep musk heavy in the air. It was 4:07 a.m., the sky a bruise-coloured void, lit only by the intermittent flicker of a distant street lamp struggling against the wind. The bus door hissed shut behind him. The driver didn't wait, didn't even look back, just pulled away as though eager to distance himself from Ethan, or perhaps from the place Ethan was going. The digital sign on the side of the bus glitched mid-turn, stuttering between Donegal and Do Not Geo before vanishing into the night. Ethan's breath fogged. Brilliant. Good omen. He adjusted the strap of his duffel bag, the one carrying the key, the parchment, the map, and the shaking, pulse-like warmth of the red-stained wooden box, sealed under layers of clothing. He didn't want to touch it again. He didn't want it touching him. But it had insisted on coming. Something inside it had scratched once, when the bus drove past Poisoned Glen at midnight. Everyone else on board had been asleep. Only Ethan heard it. Only Ethan always heard it. The man waiting in the parking lot. The bus stop was nothing more than a cracked asphalt patch beside a cemetery wall. Behind it, the land opened into hilly dark silhouettes, forests, bogs, forgotten fields lost to time. And standing under the flickering lamp post was someone he didn't expect. A man. Middle-aged, wiry, wearing a patched raincoat and a wool cap soaked through. His beard was flecked with silver. He raised a hand. Ethan Calder. Ethan stiffened. Yeah? Who are you? Name's Colm McTeague. Solicitor from Derry. He patted a battered briefcase. Your uncle's estate. I'm here to bring you to Blackthorn Lodge. The man's voice was calm, but something about his eyes bothered Ethan. They were too tired. Too hollow. Too old. As if he'd been awake for years. Did you send the parcel? Ethan asked. Colm shook his head sharply. No. And if it came in that wrapping, then I'm very glad I didn't. He gestured toward his van, a mud-stained Land Rover Defender. Ethan didn't move. Ronan's been dead for months. Why now? Why the rush to drag me out here in the middle of the night? Colm hesitated. Rain pattered violently against the hood of his coat. Because, he said quietly, Ronan's death wasn't natural. And because someone, or something, else has taken an interest in the land. He opened the passenger door. Please. Get in. Before the hour changes. The hour? Ethan checked his phone. 4:10 a.m. What happens when the hour changes? Colm swallowed. You don't want to meet the ones who walk after 4. That was enough to make Ethan move. The drive. The van smelled of wet wool, petrol, and something older, cedar wood, smoke, and faint incense. The heater rattled. The wipers screeched. Outside, empty country roads stretched endlessly, framed by stone walls and the blurred silhouette of deep, ancient woods. Glen of the Mad. The name tasted wrong. Ethan gripped his seatbelt. My uncle. He wrote rules, didn't he? Colm stiffened. He showed you the rules. A nod. Colm exhaled a long, shaky breath. Then he trusted you more than he trusted his own blood. Most people don't get all the rules. They get one. Maybe two. Enough to keep them alive, just long enough to stay useful. Useful for what? Colm didn't answer. His knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Instead, he said, Ronan believed the land wasn't just cursed. He believed it was occupied. That there were things in Poisoned Glen older than the Fomorians, older than the Tuatha De Danann. Things that didn't belong to any of our stories because they predated our stories. He glanced at Ethan. And he believed your family was chosen to keep them still. Chosen by who? But Ethan already knew. That Polaroid. That towering figure. That blue coat. Colm's hand trembled. Chosen by whatever stands behind you in every reflective surface. Don't turn around, by the way. Ethan froze. Slowly, painfully, he looked to the window. It was too dark to see much, just the occasional flash of their headlights glancing off stone markers and skeletal branches. But in the glass, for a fraction of a second, he saw a second silhouette beside his own. Long wrong. Leaning closer. Ethan jerked forward, gripping the dashboard. Stop the car. Colm slammed the brakes. The van skidded on the wet road. Ethan panted. There was something. I told you not to look, Colm said softly. Ethan swallowed hard. That thing in the photo. What is it? Colm rubbed his temples. We don't say the name. Names give shape. Shape gives passage. The wind howled across the hills. The van shook once. Something skidded across the roof, like fingernails tapping metal. Not human fingernails. Longer. Sharper. Colm killed the headlights. The world fell into a suffocating black. Stay quiet, he whispered. The tapping paused. Then. Thump. Right above Ethan's head. Thump. Thump. Slow. Deliberate. Curious. Like something was listening through the metal shell for breath. Ethan gripped the red sweater he'd packed in his bag, the one Aoife had knitted him before their last argument. Rule 3. Always wear red when walking in the woods. Colm waited. The world waited. Rain filled the silence. After an eternity, the tapping moved toward the back of the van, slowly, dragging, scraping, then vanished into the storm. Colm exhaled shakily. It's early. They are hungrier when it's early. They? Ethan whispered. Colm put the van back into gear. Pray you never meet the ones who wear the blue coats. The bridge. They reached a narrow stone bridge at the edge of Glen of the Mad around 5:02 a.m. Mist clung to the ground like smoke. A sign, hand-painted, swayed in the wind. Blackthorn Lodge Private. Below it, graffiti scrawled in red. Leave the land or the land will take you. Colm stopped the van. I walk from here. Ethan blinked. Why? Colm didn't answer. He simply stepped out and motioned for Ethan to follow. The rain had weakened to a steady drizzle, but the mist was thick enough to hide the tree line completely. As Ethan stepped onto the bridge, cold stabbed straight through his shoes. The stone beneath his feet vibrated faintly. Not from traffic, there was none. But from something below. The river. It churned like something was moving under the surface. Something massive. Colm didn't look down. Ronan died right over there, he said, pointing to a flat slab of stone near the opposite side of the bridge. On his knees. Hands clasped. Eyes open. Like he was listening. Ethan's stomach twisted. Listening to what? Colm swallowed hard. The same thing that will listen to you. The lodge. Blackthorn Lodge emerged from the fog like a memory of a house rather than a house itself, stone darkened by age, wooden beams blackened by moisture, roof sagging like the spine of something old and tired. The forest pressed close around it, trees warped, reaching, almost leaning toward the structure. Ethan shivered. The air smelled like iron and sap and something fouler, like old graves. Colm stopped several meters away. I don't go beyond this point. What? Why not? Ethan demanded. Colm met his eyes. Ronan asked me never to step inside after sunset. And if I ever did, I wouldn't come out. Ethan looked toward the lodge. A window on the second floor flickered with a faint blue glow. Someone's in there, he whispered. Colm shook his head. Not someone. Ethan turned back to him. You're leaving. Colm backed up, terror flickering across his face. I've stayed too long already. There are things that notice when you linger. He paused. Ethan, if you find the 7 pits, don't look inside. No matter what you hear. Why? Colm's voice trembled. Because they whisper with the voices of the living. Before Ethan could ask more, Colm hurried back toward the bridge, almost running, boots splashing through the mud, van door slamming in the distance. Ethan stood alone. Mist swirling around him. The lodge towering above him like a tombstone. He pulled out the key. Bronze? Cold. Humming faintly. The front door of the lodge creaked open by itself. A slow, long exhale of stale air rolled out, smelling of rot and old wood. Ethan's fingers trembled around the key. Ronan, he whispered. What the hell did you get us into? The door opened wider. Inside, the dark breathed. And Ethan stepped forward. Segment 3 Blackthorn Lodge opens its mouth. The inside of Blackthorn Lodge smelled like damp stone and the kind of silence that had weight, silence so old it felt alive. Ethan stepped across the threshold, the floorboards groaning beneath his boots. His breath fogged in the cold air despite the fireplace, which sat dead and blackened, as if it hadn't been lit in decades. The door creaked shut behind him with a finality that made his skin crawl. He swallowed. Just a house, he whispered to himself. Just walls, floors, and bad insulation. But the house breathed differently. It exhaled. The air pushed around him in slow waves, like lungs beneath the floor. The entrance hall stretched long and narrow, lit only by the dying glow of a single oil lamp on a crooked table. Every piece of furniture seemed too tall, too stretched, elongated silhouettes carved by candlelight. The wallpaper peeled in strips, revealing older wallpaper beneath. The older wallpaper revealed something else beneath that. Scratches. Long, parallel scratches. Claw marks. Or fingernails dragged upward. He tried not to think about which was worse. The portrait. At the end of the hallway hung a single painting. Ethan approached it cautiously, the lamp's flicker warping the features. The frame was ornate, blackwood carved with knotwork patterns shifting in the light. It was a portrait of the original English family, who had built the lodge in 1892. A tall, stern man. A woman with a stiff Victorian dress. 2 daughters in white. A boy with a sailor collar. All of them posed rigidly before the lodge itself. But someone had carved their faces off. Not painted over. Not burned. Carved. Deep gouges hollowed out where eyes, noses, and mouths should be. The scratches were fresh, wood shavings still clinging to the wounds. Ethan stepped back, heart thudding. Nope. Nope. No thank you. The air behind him shifted. Something moved upstairs. Slow footsteps. A dragging sound. Like fabric brushing over wood. A coat. He felt the urge to run, to sprint back to the van, to Donegal, to Dublin, to anywhere else, but Rule 1 pulsed in his mind. Do not leave the house between midnight and 3 a.m. He checked his phone. 1:14 a.m. Perfect. Trapped. The living room. He forced himself forward, into a wider living space, where the ceiling rose into shadow. The fireplace remained cold, but soot had been smeared across the stone in patterns too deliberate to be random. Symbols. Circles. Ogham strokes. One symbol repeated again and again. 7 vertical lines, connected by a single horizontal slash. 7 pits. 7 graves. He shivered. The couch sagged in the center, fabric torn, as if something heavy had sat there for too long. A gramophone rested on a side table, its horn dented and stained with something dark. A stack of records lay scattered on the floor. He picked one up. No label. Just a word scratched into the vinyl. EIST. Listen. The room temperature dropped sharply. He put it down quickly. The stairs. A narrow wooden staircase wound upward from the living room. Each step looked warped by humidity, edges curled like wet paper. A draft trickled down the stairs, carrying the faint scent of salt water. The nearest ocean was miles away. Another step. Another drag. Footsteps above him, slow, rhythmic, as though something tall paced with a measured calm. He whispered, "If you see a man in a blue coat, do not speak to him." He didn't look up. He didn't dare. The kitchen. The kitchen was cramped, old-fashioned, and disturbingly tidy. Copper pots hung in perfect alignment. The sink gleamed. A single mug sat upside down on the counter, water still dripping from its rim. Someone had washed it recently. On the table lay a fresh loaf of brown bread. Steam rose from it. Ethan froze. He had entered alone. The house had been silent. And yet, the bread was freshly baked. A note leaned beside it on a folded napkin. For the new keeper. Ronan's handwriting. Ethan backed away slowly. Behind him, the stairs creaked. Again. Something was descending. Slowly. Deliberately. He slipped into the pantry, quietly shutting the door. Darkness swallowed him, thick and suffocating. Shelves towered overhead, filled with glass jars, pickled vegetables, dark liquids, something cloudy floating in brine. He held his breath. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. Stopped. Silence stretched until it hurt. Then. Knock. On the pantry door. 3 slow knocks. B.A. Dum. B.A. Dum. B.A. Dum. The same rhythm from Dublin. His fingers dug into his palms. No, he whispered. A whisper came through the wood, a voice impossible to place, no age, no gender, not human. Let me in. Ethan bit his jaw to keep from making a sound. A slow exhale slid under the door. Cold, unnatural air swirled around his shoes. Then the knocking stopped. Footsteps retreated. He waited 10 more minutes before leaving the pantry. The living room was silent again. The bread remained untouched, steaming faintly. But at the bottom of the stairs, he noticed something new. Wet footprints. Bare. Long. Toes too far apart. They led toward the back hallway. where the cellar door waited. The cellar door. Ethan approached it, compelled by dread. The door was heavy oak, reinforced by iron bands. 7 rusted locks hung open across it, one for each grave on Ronan's map. A note tacked to the door in Ronan's handwriting read, "If you hear it knocking, do not open. If it stops knocking, run." A chill crawled down Ethan's spine. Behind the door, he heard nothing. No scratching. No breathing. No movement. Just silence. The worst kind. He turned away. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He jumped so hard he almost screamed. The screen lit up with a FaceTime call. Ethan Calder. His chest loosened. Relief washed over him. His sister, angry, stubborn, loud, protective Aoife, calling him now. Maybe she knew something. Maybe she could anchor him back to reality for. He answered. "Aoife. I'm at." The voice that came through was wrong. Too slow. Too smooth. As if someone was stretching her words through water. Ethan. The screen glitch flickered. Aoife's face elongated, cheeks stretching downward, chin pulling like melted wax. Her eyes stayed where they were, widening, widening, widening. Her mouth moved, but the voice came out backwards. A wet, reversed recording of itself. Ethan dropped the phone. It clattered across the floor. On the screen, Aoife's distorted face continued whispering. Then it froze. A new face appeared behind her. Tall. Blue. Faceless. The call ended. Ethan stood paralyzed, staring at the dark screen, breath shallow and ragged. The house grew cold again. Something clicked behind him. The cellar door lock. One of the 7 rusted latches had shut itself. Clink. Then another. Clink. Then another. Clink. 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 All 7. Sealed. Ethan whispered, "I'm not even near you, how?" A voice spoke directly behind him. Whisper thin. Close to his ear. Familiar. "Welcome home, Ethan." He spun around. No one. But the portrait at the end of the hallway, the one with the carved-out faces, had changed. The carved holes now showed something behind them. Not darkness. Eyes. Watching him from inside the wall. The entire house seemed to exhale, long and content, like a predator settling before the feast. Ethan stumbled backward, clutching the bronze key. The air hummed faintly. The front door behind him. Locked. Bolted. The house wouldn't let him leave. Not until it was done. He felt the pulse of the red wooden box through his bag, warm, excited, almost hungry. Outside, wind screamed across the glen. Inside, the staircase creaked as something began to descend again. Not footsteps this time. Something being dragged. Slow. Wet. Deliberate. The lodge whispered his name through the walls. Ethan. He closed his eyes. Steeled himself. And whispered back. Ronan, why did you choose me? Somewhere deep in the house, something laughed. And the lights went out. Part 2, the first night, the knocking of bones. Segment 1, the bones start talking. The storm rolled in at dusk, swallowing the last thin stripe of sunlight bleeding across the western tree line. By the time Marcus locked the front gate of the old Hanlon property, the world had already turned the color of iron, blue-black, heavy, metallic, as if the sky itself were preparing for something unspeakable. The house behind him groaned again. It had been doing that since he arrived an hour earlier. Not the normal settling wood or thermal expansion. No, this was different. These groans carried intention. They rose from the beams like breath from something buried too deep to stay quiet. Marcus tried to ignore it. He set his duffel bag down in the foyer, listening to the rain begin its assault on the roof tiles. The place smelled like damp plaster, old varnish, and something faintly mineral, like crushed bone mixed into the dust. The electricity flickered once. Twice. Then steadied. Perfect, he muttered, forcing a grin he didn't feel. He had agreed to watch this house for one night. One simple night. Check the equipment. Log the readings. Make sure the structure hadn't shifted again. Take photos for the insurance agency. Simple. But the Hanlon house had its own ideas. The deeper he went inside, the more the air felt wrong, too still, too thick, too cold. As if each room was holding its breath. He paused in the corridor, staring at the yellow caution tape still hanging loosely across the basement door. Someone had torn it months ago, either police, construction staff, or something else Marcus didn't want to imagine. He checked his phone. One bar. Then none. Great. Just him, the storm, and a house that kept groaning like it resented his breathing. He forced himself upstairs, choosing the master bedroom as his base for the night. It was the only room with a functioning lock. He didn't plan to need it. But he locked it anyway. It started at 9:17 p.m. A sound so faint at first that Marcus thought it was the storm. Tick, tick, tick. Like something small tapping the window glass. He sat at the desk, reviewing the structural maps, pretending he didn't hear it. Tick, tick. Closer this time. He swallowed, stood, crossed to the window, and pushed aside the curtain. Nothing but darkness. The tree branches didn't reach this high. The gutter was too far right. There was nothing here that could be tapping the glass. He leaned in. The tapping stopped. Marcus told himself it was wind. Or debris. Or a loose shutter. But when he turned away. Tick, 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 tick. This time it was on the door. His blood froze. Not knocking. No. This wasn't a fist. This was sharp, brittle, uneven. Like someone tapping the door with a bone. Marcus approached the door slowly, pressing his ear against the wood. Silence. Then, right beside his ear. Tick. He jerked back, heart hammering. Who's there? He called, instantly regretting it. No answer. He stared at the door handle. It twitched. Not turned. Not rattled. Just twitched. Like something gently brushed it. Marcus stumbled back from the door. Okay. Okay. Probably temperature pressure. Metal contraction. He could explain this. He had to. He exhaled shakily and sat on the bed. Then the door let out a long, slow creak. As if something on the other side dragged its fingertips. Or finger bones. Down its surface. Marcus covered his mouth, eyes wide. The dragging lasted 6 full seconds. 6 long, deliberate seconds. Then silence. 9:41 p.m. The storm intensified. Thunder cracked, rattling the picture frames on the walls. The power flickered again, dimming for a long, pulsing heartbeat before stabilizing. Marcus hadn't moved from the bed. He kept staring at the door. Nothing happened for 5 minutes. Then 10. Then 15. He almost started to relax when... Tick 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 tick. Rapid. Desperate. Skittering. Like dozens of tiny bones clattering against the wood. Marcus stood so fast he knocked the lamp over. No, 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 no. He backed up until his shoulders hit the wall. The bone tapping circled the lower part of the door. Around the edges. As if searching for a way inside. He could hear it scraping the gap under the door. Something thin. Something jointed. Probing. He wanted to scream. Wanted to run. Wanted to break the window and climb down into the rain. But he was rooted in place. Then, suddenly, the tapping stopped. A single knock followed. Perfectly centered. Perfectly human. Knock. Marcus's breath left his body. Another knock. Slow. Intentional. Knock. He forced himself to speak, voice cracking. "Who's there?" Lightning flashed. The bedroom lights flickered out completely. The answer came from the other side of the door. Not with a voice. Not with words. But with a whisper made of friction, of bone scraping bone. "We found you." Marcus choked on air, stumbling back as the power snapped off entirely, plunging the house, and him, into utter darkness. And in that pitch-black room, the sound returned. Tick, 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 tick. But this time, it came from inside the room. Segment 2, something crawls in the dark. Darkness swallowed everything. Not the soft, natural kind of darkness Marcus knew from nights on camping trips or power outages. No, this darkness felt constructed, like it had intention, shape, and weight. It pressed against his skin. It thickened the air in his lungs. It felt alive. He couldn't see his own hands. He couldn't see the bed, or the desk, or even the faint outline of the window. But he could hear. God, he could hear everything. Tick. A small, deliberate tap on the floorboards near the dresser. Tick, tick. Another. Closer. Marcus scrambled backwards until his spine hit the wall again, palms searching blindly across the wallpaper for something, anything, to hold on to. His voice trembled out of him. "Stay away from me." Something answered. Not a voice. Not a word. But breath. A dry, rasping inhale from somewhere in the room. Like wind passing through a skull with no flesh to soften the edges. Marcus froze. The sound moved, slowly, deliberately, across the floor. Each movement ending with that sharp, brittle tick. It was circling him. His mind fired with panic, logic dissolving. He needed light. He dug frantically through his pocket until his fingers brushed the cold metal of his phone. He tore it out, tapping the screen. Nothing. Black. Dead. The storm must have knocked out the signal entirely, or the house, this thing, had drained the battery. He didn't know which scared him more. He tried the button again. And again. And again. Still nothing. But the tapping had stopped. That was worse. Because now, for the first time, Marcus realized he could hear something else underneath the storm outside. A faint, soft clatter. Like loose bones knocking gently together. Directly in front of him. He held his breath. In the dark, something shifted and floated upward. A pale shape flashed for half a second. Lightning struck outside, illuminating the bedroom window for a single heartbeat. In that moment, Marcus saw it. A hand. No skin. No muscle. Just bones, long, delicate, impossibly clean, hovering in midair, fingers curled like a spider opening its legs. Then darkness slammed back down. Marcus screamed. His foot hit his duffel bag, and he fell sideways, landing on the floor as something clattered toward him in the dark. He rolled instinctively, scrambling across the wooden boards as the bone hand hit the floor where he had just been. It scuttled after him. Fast. Too fast. Oh God, no. Marcus grabbed the leg of the bed and pulled himself upright. His fingers brushed something metallic. The flashlight. He yanked it upward and slammed the button. The light flickered once. then burst into life. The beam cut through the dark and froze Marcus' blood. The room wasn't empty. Bone shapes clung to the walls. Long, slender finger phalanges curled around the picture frames. A partial jawbone hung upside down from the curtain rod like a grotesque ornament. Half a ribcage rested on the dresser, each rib trembling as if breathing. And on the floor, 3 skeletal hands scuttled like pale insects, moving in sharp, twitching bursts toward the bed where Marcus stood. The largest hand lifted itself, balancing impossibly on 2 fingers and a thumb. It turned its empty wrist toward him, as if sensing his heat. Then it launched. Marcus screamed and dove sideways. The hand struck the mattress and rebounded, bones clattering. The other 2 scuttled after him, fingernail-less tips clicking like beetle legs. He aimed the flashlight beam directly at them. The bones recoiled. Not from the light itself, but from the heat. Marcus seized that tiny piece of luck and ran for the door. He grabbed the handle and froze. The handle was cold. Not cold like metal. Cold like a corpse. He yanked the door open anyway and sprinted into the hall. Only to stop dead. The hallway was wrong. It was longer. Much longer. The Hanlon house hallway was 20 feet at most. He had measured it himself earlier. But now, the corridor stretched into darkness, seemingly endless. The wallpaper peeled in repeating patterns too perfect to be natural. And the carpet beneath his feet felt soft, thicker than before. He pointed the flashlight down. The carpet fibers writhed faintly. Not carpet. Hair. Human hair. Marcus staggered backward, horror ripping through him. Behind him, inside the bedroom, the skeletal hands hissed. A dry, clicking exhale like someone grinding teeth made of stone. They were coming. Forced by survival, Marcus turned and ran. The house changed as he moved. Doors that should have been on the left were now on the right. The closet door he'd passed an hour ago now appeared 3 times, each identical, each slightly open. The air grew colder. The lights never returned. His flashlight beam flickered, but he kept it trained ahead, refusing to look anywhere else, not at the shadows on the ceiling that crawled like ink dropped in water, not at the walls that seemed to pulse with breath. He just ran. He didn't know how long. Seconds. Minutes. Hours. The hallway refused to end. When he finally slowed, chest burning, something appeared in the beam ahead. A door. A single door. Old. Wooden. Familiar. The basement door. Except, he was on the 2nd floor. No, this isn't right. He stepped back. The basement door creaked open by itself. A cold draft flowed out, carrying a smell Marcus had only experienced once before. When his father died in the hospital. The smell of marrow. Rot. Calcium. Old, dried bone. Inside the doorway, something moved. Not a person. Not an animal. Something assembled. Bone fragments rising off the floor like iron filings pulled toward a magnet. Finger bones snapping together in midair. A forearm forming from nothing. A jawbone twisting into place beneath a skull with no eyes. Marcus lifted the flashlight with trembling hands. Stay back. I swear, stay back. The figure stepped forward. Bones clicking softly. Beautifully arranged. Terrifyingly precise. Its empty eye sockets lifted toward him. And from somewhere deep inside its ribcage, a voice scraped out. You opened the door. Marcus stumbled backward, dropping the flashlight. The beam spun across the floor, illuminating dozens. Hundreds. No. Thousands of loose bones gathering behind the first figure. crawling, sliding, rolling over each other, building shapes, forming a swarm. Marcus screamed, but the bones drowned out the sound. They surged forward like a wave, and the darkness swallowed him whole. Segment 3, The House That Breathes. Marcus didn't remember losing consciousness. He only remembered falling into the wave of bones, into darkness, into a sensation like he was being swallowed whole by something that didn't have a stomach, but still knew hunger. When he came to, he was lying on something cold. Not the hallway floor. Not wood. Stone. Rough, uneven stone. He pushed himself up, wincing as pain flickered through every joint. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. Something had clawed through the fabric, thin, sharp, deliberate. He blinked, waiting for the blur to settle. And slowly, painfully, his surroundings came into focus. He wasn't in the hallway. He wasn't anywhere inside the house. He was in a stairwell. Narrow, spiraling, carved into old granite. The walls were damp, streaked with mineral deposits. Cold air rose from below, carrying the smell of earth choked with centuries of decay. A staircase. A staircase that shouldn't exist. There's no basement, Marcus whispered. Only a crawl space. Hanlon said that. He said that. His breath fogged in the cold air. Somewhere far below him, something shifted. The sound echoed upward, soft, scraping, impossibly slow. Bone on stone. Marcus flinched. He checked his pockets. No phone. No flashlight. Nothing but cold fingertips and his own trembling breath. He rose unsteadily and looked upward. The stairwell stretched into darkness above, no opening, no ceiling, no door. Just a black tunnel spiraling forever. He swallowed hard. He wasn't trapped in the Hanlon house. He was trapped under it. Or worse. Somewhere the house led to. He had to move. Instinct screamed not to go down, but something inside him whispered even more urgently not to climb upward. Whatever waited above did not want him leaving. So he descended. Step by step. The stairwell groaned beneath him, stone grinding like something alive shifting in its sleep. The air grew colder the deeper he went, sinking its fingers into his bones. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. He had no reference. No light. No sense of time. Only the faint, slow scraping echoing from the abyss below. Then, a flicker. Warm light. Marcus stopped, breath caught in his throat. A faint orange glow shone from around the next curve of the spiral. He stepped toward it, pulse quickening. Light meant people. People meant safety. Except nothing in this house had been safe. Not once. He rounded the corner. And froze. A room lay carved from the earth. Circular. Tall. Walls lined with shelves made from human bones, femurs stacked in neat rows, skulls used as corner braces, ribs lashed together with leather straps. And in the center of the room, a table. Upon it burned 7 candles, arranged in a ring around a wooden box no bigger than a lunch pail. Their flames didn't flicker. Didn't move. Didn't give off heat. They just burned. Marcus stepped closer. The wooden box was beautiful, dark walnut, hand-carved, sealed with an iron clasp etched with spirals. And stained. Across the lid, long-dried blood had seeped into the grain. Someone had tried to wipe it away. Failed. A sharp memory burst through Marcus' mind. Hanlon's voice earlier that day. Whatever you do, lad, don't open anything in this house that's locked. But he was dead now. His warnings useless. His house alive. Marcus reached out. Just to touch it. just to confirm it was real. When a hand closed around his wrist, ice shot through him. He spun around and nearly fainted. Hanlon stood behind him, or what was left of Hanlon. His neck was crooked at a violently unnatural angle, skin bruised black along the break. His eyes were clouded, but they moved, slowly tracking Marcus with an unblinking stare. His voice came out in a wet, gurgling whisper. "You weren't supposed to see this." Marcus stumbled backward, heart hammering. "Jesus, Hanlon, how are you?" Hanlon lifted a trembling hand. "Don't touch the box." Marcus could barely breathe. "What is it?" Hanlon's jaw twitched. It hung slightly open, as if part of the muscles no longer worked. "It's not a box," he rasped. "It's a door." Marcus looked down at the object. "A door? To where?" Hanlon staggered closer, clutching the wall of bones for support. Several skulls toppled and shattered, but he didn't react. "You must leave," Hanlon gasped. "Now? Before it comes back." "It?" Marcus whispered. "What is it?" Hanlon's eyes widened. Terrified, he turned toward the staircase. "It's awake." That scraping sound Marcus had heard earlier. It returned. Louder. Closer. Faster. Something was climbing. Marcus backed away from the table. Hanlon pushed him toward the opposite wall. A portion of the bone shelf shifted, revealing a narrow passage. "Go," Hanlon wheezed. "Go and don't look back." "But you." "Go." Marcus ducked into the tunnel. As he crawled, the scraping grew into a rattling avalanche. Bones clattered. Candles blew out. The stone floor vibrated, dust falling from the ceiling like snow. Hanlon's voice echoed behind him. "Don't look at its face." Marcus covered his ears and crawled faster. A scream tore through the chamber. Hanlon's wet, short, terminated abruptly. Marcus didn't stop. He reached the end of the crawl space and tumbled out into... No, impossible. He was in the main hallway again. The one upstairs. Where he'd started. Except the hallway was different now. Longer. Wetter. Sagging. The walls pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Marcus scrambled to his feet just as something slammed into the bone room door behind him. Once. Twice. On the third strike, a three-part knock echoed through the entire house. Tock, tock, tock. The same knock from earlier. The same knock that didn't belong to human knuckles. Marcus staggered backward as the door shuddered. Splintered. Cracked. He turned and ran. The hallway twisted. Bent. Stretched like an optical illusion designed to break the human mind. Doors opened as he passed, revealing only darkness. Rooms filled with bones. A crooked silhouette in a blue coat waiting silently inside one. He didn't stop. He didn't look. He kept running until he reached the top of the stairs. Just as the front door unlocked by itself. Cold wind rushed in. Marcus didn't question it. He ripped the door open and threw himself outside into the rain. The storm slammed into him like a sheet of knives. Lightning lit up the yard. And Marcus saw briefly, horribly, that something tall stood just behind the doorway he had escaped from. 7 feet. 8. 9. A blue coat dripping with rain. A face melted into nothingness. Hands too long, fingertips brushing the ground. It tilted its head. Almost curious. Marcus ran. He didn't look back. He crossed the yard, sprinted through the mud, crashed into his car, and threw himself behind the wheel. He jammed the key into the ignition. The engine coughed. Failed. Again. Failed. Come on, come on. On the third attempt, the engine roared to life. Marcus slammed the accelerator. Gravel sprayed behind the tires as he tore down the driveway toward the road. Toward anything that wasn't that house. But as the car hit the bend at the bottom of the hill, Marcus saw something in the rearview mirror. The Hanlon house. It was breathing. Each inhale made the walls swell outward like lungs filling. Each exhale blew out a soft cloud of dust from the roof tiles. Something walked out the front door. Tall. Slow. Impossibly patient. Marcus jerked the wheel, eyes wide with terror. And the car shot into the darkness ahead. Part 3, Segment 2, The Door You Should Not Open. Ethan didn't remember climbing the stairs. One moment he was at the foot of the narrow staircase, splinters cracking under his boots, the cold of the cellar crawling up his bones. The next, he was standing in the lodge's main hall, gasping, clutching his bleeding fingers like he had woken from a blackout. The house was painfully silent. Not the gentle, normal silence of an empty home. This was pressurized silence, the kind that squeezes the air from your lungs and makes the walls feel too close, as if the building were inhaling around him. The wooden box was still in his hands. The red box, though it wasn't actually red, he realized. It was walnut dark, near black. The red was something else. The aura. The weight. The way the wood felt warm, like it had a pulse. His pulse. Ethan leaned his back against the wall and slid down until he sat on the creaking floorboards. A faint hum buzzed in the air, an electric throbbing that wasn't from lights. They were all dead, frozen at whatever power cut the box had unleashed. His breath fogged the air. Still freezing. Still wrong. He set the box beside him. It throbbed softly like a heartbeat. Midnight, the digital clock on the kitchen stove still read the same impossible hour. Midnight, frozen in place. A thought occurred to him. What if time hasn't moved since I opened it? He took out his phone, expecting a dead battery from the cold. Instead, the screen flickered violently, blue, then white, then a distorted pattern of Ogham runes skittering across like insects. Then it forced itself open to his camera. Front camera. His own face. But his reflection was 3 seconds out of sync. It blinked late. Tilted its head at an angle he hadn't moved. And for a moment, just a flicker, the reflection's face elongated, jaw hinged open wider than human. Ethan threw the phone across the hall. It clattered against the stone fireplace and went silent. He pressed his palms to his temples. He needed to breathe. He needed to think. But the house was listening. Watching. And the box, beating. The house starts answering. Somewhere above him, a floorboard side, a long, low groan as if someone were walking with bare, slow feet. Ethan's heart hammered. The rules. What were the rules again? His mind scrambled through the parchment paper he had read earlier. Do not leave the house between midnight and 3 a.m. He was safe inside. He hoped. Another rule flashed in his mind. Ignore the crying of children. He swallowed. Because that sound, so faint he thought he imagined it, was returning. From the walls. From the chimney. From the very framework of the lodge. Soft whimpers. Little voices. Like tiny fists tapping from inside the wood. Ethan covered his ears. No. No. I'm not listening to you, he whispered, echoing the rule like a prayer. You're not real. But the crying rose anyway, like the house was offended. The air shivered. The temperature plummeted even further. Ethan grabbed the red wool sweater, Ronan's sweater, that he had dropped near the front door earlier. He pulled it over his head with shaking fingers, wincing as the yarn scraped across his wounded knuckles. Warmth returned instantly. Not physical warmth, spiritual warmth. Like something unseen backed off. Retreated. The crying cut off. Immediately. As if silenced by command. The house seemed to exhale. Ethan realized he was breathing with it. The cassette whispers back. The box trembled again. A tiny vibration. Ethan stared at it. He shouldn't open it again. He knew he shouldn't. But something inside the box clicked, like a shifting gear, a real rewinding. The cassette tape. The one with Ronan's voice whispering backward prayers in ancient Irish. Ethan didn't want to touch it. But his hands lifted anyway. He hated how automatic the movement felt. How guided. He inserted the tape into the small handheld recorder he'd found beside it. A 1980s Grundig machine. Heavy. Oily smell. Rigid buttons. He pressed play. Static exploded first. Like wind ripping across a barren plain. Then. A voice. Ronan's. But not his usual gentle, scholarly voice. This was harsh. Cold. Desperate. And reversed. The Irish words churned backward, turning guttural, wet, almost animalistic. The language was unrecognizable, but the tone. The tone was a warning. Ethan leaned closer. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the emotion. Terror. Ronan was afraid. The tape warped, pitch shifting, and a second voice merged with his uncle's. A deeper one. Distant. Dragging syllables like chains. Then Ronan's voice suddenly snapped forward, UN reversing for a split second, just enough for Ethan to understand one sentence. If you hear his steps, do not respond, do not. The tape cut out with a shriek. The recorder smoked. Ethan ripped out the batteries. His pulse thundered in his ears. The man in the blue coat arrives. A soft tap came from the window beside him. Not the door. Not the walls. The window. Ethan froze. 3 taps. Rhythmic. Measured. He turned his head very slowly. The curtains were thin. Threadbare. Something stood outside. A silhouette. Tall. Very tall. Looming past the height of the window frame. The shape didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just waited. Ethan's skin crawled. His mouth tasted like metal. The rule echoed in his mind. If you see a man in a blue coat, do not speak to him. He didn't plan to. He didn't even plan to look again. But the silhouette began to lean forward, pressing its faceless head into the curtain fabric. The cloth stretched outward unnaturally, as if a skull-shaped balloon were pushing through. Ethan choked on a breath. The figure's outline shifted, melted, reformed. Long arms. Too long. Smooth, jointless movements. Like a marionette pulled by invisible strings. The curtain bunched as a finger, long, skeletal, tipped in something dark, traced down the glass. Scree. 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 Slow. Scratching. Calling. Ethan clutched the red sweater tighter. Whatever was outside seemed to sense it. Because it stopped. The scratching halted mid-stroke. The silhouette straightened to its impossible height. And then it stepped backward. One long, gliding step at a time. Until it blended into the night. Gone? The house resumed breathing. Ethan did not. Something moves inside the box. He turned back toward the red box. It was open. He hadn't opened it. At least, he didn't remember opening it. Inside, the Polaroids were shifting, rustling, like something underneath them was moving. Ethan didn't want to touch the photographs, but he reached into the box anyway. His fingers brushed cold paper. He pulled the top Polaroid into the dim light. Ronan, standing in front of Blackthorn Lodge. As always. But this time, the blue-coated figure wasn't behind him. It was directly beside him. Hand on Ronan's shoulder. The tall figure's head tilted at a grotesque angle, resting inches from Ronan's ear, as if whispering a secret. Ethan flipped to the next photo. Closer. Next. Closer still. Next. He froze. The last Polaroid wasn't of Ronan. It was of Ethan. Taken in this exact moment. Sitting on the lodge floor. Holding the photo. Wearing the red sweater. A black, towering figure stood behind him, half visible in the shadows. Face pressed near his skull. The photo was still developing, its ink bleeding outward, its edges slightly warm. Like it had just been taken. Ethan whipped around. Nothing behind him. But the temperature dropped again, violently, cold enough to sting his lungs. The house went silent. Completely silent. Then, something whispered behind his right ear, so close he felt the breath. Turn around. He didn't. He ran. Straight toward the kitchen door. Straight toward anywhere that wasn't here. The house laughed, floorboards cracking open like ribs. And in the darkness behind him, something tall began to stand. Segment 3. The fatal consequence. Ethan skidded across the hall, heart hammering as though it might shatter his chest. His red sweater was soaked with rain and sweat, clinging to him like a warning. The red box pulsed on the floor beside the stairwell, as if it had just awakened to him. He did not dare touch it again. Behind him, the house groaned, low, guttural, like the sound of a creature exhaling after centuries of imprisonment. Something massive shifted in the shadows. He didn't have to look, he could feel its presence. He could smell the metallic tang of the impossibly tall blue coat, a stench like iron mixed with sea salt and decayed leaves. The Polaroids in the box, the photos of his uncle, fluttered despite the absence of wind. The last photo, the one of Ethan himself, seemed to crawl along the wooden surface. Tiny scratches etched themselves into the photo's surface, forming letters. Words he could barely comprehend, scrawled like the handwriting of someone trying to speak while suffocating. Open. It. Chew. Before he could finish reading, the words scorched themselves onto his skin, leaving a faint, burning imprint along his forearm. He screamed, jerking his arm back, and the imprint remained. The box takes notice. The 7 locks clicked almost simultaneously, as if the box were responding to his fear. They twisted and snapped without keys or touch. The lid lifted a fraction, enough to expose the darkness inside, a black so deep it seemed to absorb even the dim light of the storm filtering through the broken windows. Ethan leaned closer, compelled despite every instinct screaming at him to run. A voice, a whisper, reversed, then normal, slithered from inside the box. It has chosen. Do not resist. The cassette's voice replayed in his mind. The backward Irish chanting, the reversed prayers, they were not warnings. They were invitations. The air around the box thickened, pressing against his chest. The hairs on his arms stood straight up. His knees weakened. Something cold brushed the back of his neck. He spun around. The hall was empty. The walls no longer held any cracks, but something in the air told him that the house itself had shifted. The shadows weren't shadows anymore. They were shapes, long, thin, faceless, blue-coated forms sliding along the floor, walls, and ceiling. They didn't move like humans. They glided, as if gravity were only a suggestion. And then the first one stopped. Just outside the range of his flashlight, it lifted a skeletal finger and pointed at him. Ethan's chest seized. Every survival instinct screamed run, but his legs refused to cooperate. The first touch. Something hit him, a fingertip, impossibly long, pressed into his left shoulder. Ice tore through his sweater into his skin. He turned slowly. Nothing was there. Only the cold remained, seeping deeper into his bones. The box pulsed again. Louder. Faster. Each beat synchronized with his own heartbeat, or perhaps his heartbeat was now synchronized with the box. The air temperature dropped suddenly by more than 20 degrees. His breath came out in thick white clouds, condensing around the room. Frost spread across the windows, spiderwebbing the glass in intricate patterns that almost seemed intentional. A whisper came, soft at first, then louder. "Open me." Ethan's hands lifted almost by themselves. He knew it would be fatal. The rules were clear: never open a locked wooden box. He hadn't done it before tonight, he had only looked, but the box had already chosen him. The box was aware of him. And now, it wanted acknowledgement. The box throbbed like a heartbeat. Ethan's fingers hovered over the lid. He knew the moment he touched it, he would be bound. He would be trapped. And yet, he touched it. The opening. The lid swung open silently. No hinges creaked. No lock clicked. It just was. Inside, he saw 33 Polaroids stacked neatly, each depicting Ronan in the lodge at different points in time. In every single one, a blue-coated figure loomed behind him, inching closer, step by step, year by year. And in the last Polaroid at the very top of the pile, Ethan. The black inside the box seemed alive. He could feel it reaching out. He could hear the whispers, the chanting, the reversed prayers now clear in his mind. Blood? Life? Contract? Chosen? The temperature dropped further. His limbs stiffened. The box was sucking warmth from him. The candlelight, or the illusion of it from some remembered memory of the lodge, flickered, revealing the figure behind him. Not the window. Not the door. Not in the hall. Directly behind him. Blue coat. Faceless. Head tilted. Hands long, impossibly jointed, resting on nothing, reaching for him without touching. Ethan's spine froze. His throat constricted. His lungs burned. The binding. When his hands closed over the Polaroids, the room changed. Gravity became fluid. The walls warped. The floor breathed like lungs. Frost spread along every surface, and his fingers felt numb instantly. The box's energy flowed into him, consuming his senses. He tried to scream. No sound came. His voice was gone. The box was swallowing it. The figure leaned closer, impossibly close, though no eyes met him. He felt its gaze, sharp as ice through bone. The Polaroids began to move, stacked images flipping rapidly. Each photograph now showed a different perspective, him sitting at the foot of the lodge stairs, holding the red box, trapped in that very moment. The blue-coated figure in each photo bent closer, closer, until in the last image, it pressed its faceless head into his ear. He fell backward. The box fell on top of him. A sharp pain shot through his arm. He looked down. The box had left a burn across his forearm, blackened runes glowing faintly against his skin. It wasn't just a burn, it was a mark. A contract. A binding. The whisper swelled, and the house's pulse synced with his heartbeat. He could feel every floorboard, every wall, every beam moving, alive, surrounding him, judging him, pressing him into the earth. The air became a vacuum. Frost cracked across the windows. His bones hurt. His teeth ached. And the box pulsed louder. He wanted to scream. But the box had chosen him. And there was nothing he could do. The first deaths. The house began to reveal its power. Shadows stretched across the walls, forming shapes of former owners. Children's cries echoed from nowhere. The whispers of Ronan and the reversed prayers became a chorus. Then a soft, wet snap sounded near the stairwell. Ethan didn't need to look. He already knew. Dr. Killian O'Brien, who had come earlier, supposedly to purchase the land, was now hanging from the rafters, a crimson rope tied in a loop around his neck. His eyes were open. The rope moved slightly, though the man himself was dead. Frost clung to his hair and lips. A whisper of a scream emerged, but no sound traveled to Ethan's ears. The house was showing him what would happen if he tried to leave. If he tried to resist. Ethan's knees hit the floor. The box pulsed again, heavier now, vibrating through his spine, through his head, through his very consciousness. It wasn't just a box. It was a locus of something older than the lodge, older than Ronan, older than the glen of the mad itself. And now it wanted him. Segment 4. The lodge devours. Ethan curled around the red box, clutching it to his chest as if it were a life raft. But it wasn't. It wasn't a lifeline. It was the thing dragging him under. The pulse against his palms was no longer rhythmic, it was violent, jagged, alive, like it was pounding directly into his bones, vibrating with intent. He tried to stand. His legs refused. Frost had crystallized along his thighs, spreading quickly. He shook violently, trying to dislodge the cold, but it wasn't just cold. It was possessive, anchoring him to the floorboards. The lodge breathed around him. Not metaphorically. Literally. The walls swelled, inhaled, exhaled. Floorboards flexed upward, cracking open in places to reveal narrow black fissures that seemed to lead into infinity. Each exhale of the house expelled a choking wind that smelled like burnt cedar and wet iron. And then he heard it. A sound worse than any scream, worse than any human wail. Bones scraping, dry and wet, clawing their way along walls and floors. Slow at first. Then faster. The rhythm knew him, synced to his pulse. Ethan dropped the box. It didn't hit the floor, it floated, lid open, as if waiting for him to look inside again. The Polaroids fluttered in a stormless wind, their images moving independently, always showing him, always watching. The figure emerges. Something emerged from the shadows, the blue-coated figure. No face. Head tilted, resting impossibly on its shoulder. Hands unnaturally long, brushing the floor. It didn't walk. It glided, floating half an inch above the warped floorboards. The air around it swirled with condensation and frost. Every breath Ethan drew crystallized instantly. Ethan's voice failed him. He tried to scream, tried to shout, tried to speak any word at all, but his vocal cords were frozen. The figure stopped 3 feet from him. Head tilted. Unblinking gaze. The whispers returned, but this time not from the tape. Not from the box. Not from inside the walls. From everywhere, inside his skull. Inside his chest. Around his heart. You chose. You belong. The first strike. Without warning, the figure struck. Not with its hands. Not with claws. With presence. The air thickened violently. Ethan fell forward, his chest crushing against the floor. His lungs burned. His fingers curled around the box instinctively. The Polaroids exploded outward. Photographs flew like shards of paper, cutting his face and hands. Each picture bore a moment he hadn't lived yet, a future image of himself clutching the box in impossible places. One photo showed him being dragged across the lodge floor by a shadow that wasn't the figure, something even larger, looming behind the blue coat. And as he looked up, the figure was closer, impossibly close. The distance hadn't changed, it had been folded, warped by the house's will. The floor beneath him groaned. A fissure opened. From it, long, skeletal fingers of darkness reached up, attempting to grasp him, to pull him down into the lodge itself. Ethan kicked, clawed, shoved, but the house responded. Every move he made distorted reality further. A chair bent and twisted like a living thing, trapping his leg. The chandelier cracked, sending shards of glass raining down. And the red box pulsed harder. Demanding the choice. Ethan realized what the box wanted. Not just him. Not just fear. It wanted acknowledgement. Consent. Blood. Life. Ownership. His knuckles were raw. His sweater damp with his own sweat and rainwater from the walls. He considered leaving it. Just letting it be. But the rules were clear. Open the locked box, and you accept. He had already opened it. He had already accepted. The box had chosen him. The lodge, the shadows, the blue-coated figure, they all answered to it now. And it would not let him go. A voice echoed in his mind, backward chanting turned forward, clear now. Turn the key. Own the contract. Live, or be taken. Ethan's hand, shaking violently, lifted the copper key Ronan had sent him. He inserted it into the tiny lock etched with Ogham runes. Sweat stung his eyes. His entire body screamed. 1 click. 2 clicks. The third lock resisted. He twisted it hard. The metal groaned. A shock shot up his arm, pain, cold, and something worse, like consciousness itself being ripped. The lid flung open wider. The shadows recoiled. The lodge groaned in pain, as if the very building knew a fatal mistake had been made. Inside the box, the Polaroids moved violently, as though alive. One image rose, hovering in the air. Ethan recognized it immediately. It was a photo of the lodge itself. But something was different. Its windows were faces. Its doors were mouths. And from its roof, 1,000 faceless blue-coated figures poured outward like water. Ethan stumbled back. The house wasn't just alive. It was a gateway. It was a predator. And he had just opened its maw. Flight. The figure lunged, not with hands, but with intent. The room itself tilted. Walls stretched impossibly. Floors buckled. Frost shot from the walls, stabbing at him. Ethan had no choice. He grabbed the red box, slammed the lid shut, and ran. The hall twisted around him. He passed doors that weren't there before. Stairs led nowhere. Windows reflected the blue coat in endless repetition. The whispers followed him, repeating Ronan's voice backward and forward, chanting, begging, warning, condemning. The front door, somehow, remained ahead. His last hope. As he threw it open, the storm outside greeted him like a lover. Rain lashed his face, lightning seared the sky, and thunder shook the ground. He sprinted through mud, clutching the box, blood mixing with rain, heart hammering, lungs burning. He didn't stop. Not for the branches clawing at him. Not for the twisted trees. Not even for the voice of Ronan, or whatever had been Ronan, screaming inside the lodge as the door slammed shut behind him, leaving the house silent, waiting, hungry. The forest embraced him, dark and twisting. Every instinct screamed, the rules were still in effect. He had not donned his red sweater before leaving the lodge proper. The trees shifted, folding space around him.